Oh no, it's yeah.
Hello, hello. Testing, testing.
It's far away.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Fireside chat. How's everyone doing? How's the developing going? All good? Nice, nice. That's what I like to hear. Awesome. So throughout the day, you've had a little bit more of like technical subjects, so it might be a little bit heavy. You guys have been building a lot, so I'm sure your brains are getting a little bit tired at this point. Don't worry, today the Fireside chat's going to be that's like skills. Fireside chat's going to be a little bit less technically intense. We're going to speak a bit more about DeFi, so decentralized finance. Have any of you guys had much experience with DeFi itself? No? Yeah? Few hands? Okay, awesome, awesome. So we'll go into a little bit more. We'll give you a bit of an in-depth look into DeFi, so you kind of understand what it is. It's based in Web3, and how it combines or works against traditional finance. So I've got 4 experts with me, some of the top guys from the Web3 space in India. I'll let them introduce themselves, so we can who they are, where they're from, and what they're up to in the Web3 space. So guys, can we start off with some introductions? So say we'll go from, well, like that, and then we'll work our way down. So you can tell us like who you guys are, what it is you do, what kind of got you into the crypto space, and what you kind of find interesting about it as well. Yeah, maybe. I'm bad with the microphone too, so I don't know if I think this is, you keep it here.
Hi, I'm Nihir. I'm the Chief Technology Officer of Coinwise and engineering team there. Coinwise is a team where projects can build main pages to create or reward NFTs or social tokens to users, where they perform on-chain or off-chain tasks and they get rewarded in return. Coinwise is currently powering rewards for Polygon, Lens Protocol, and other projects. Really nice to be here.
Thank you. So I'm Seed. I am an engineer by background. I have previously worked with Zero, Timestop, and currently a founding team member at Layer 3. So Layer 3 is essentially now turning into a data powerhouse. So we run on-chain quests for a lot of these organizations, ecosystems, and we've sort of become like a place where a lot of these ecosystems and projects come and sort of try to get user retention, acquire new users, a lot of those things, and we also started building our own product. So yeah, that's Layer 3, and excited to be here and talk to these people.
Thank you. Hey everyone, this is Anshu, the co-founder of Logix. We previously co-founded this product called Print Money. Some of you might have heard of it. Super excited to be here first of all. Logix is a perpetual trading platform. So DeFi product, pretty much like a deck, perp dex aggregate. So some of you might be aware of products like 1inch or Paraswap that aggregate X's on the spot side. Just think of Logix as 1inch but for perpetual. So it's a new category creator on the perpetual side. Liam asked, since when you have been crypto or businessing as such, been in crypto since 2017, primarily being a trader. That's pretty much what I love and understand across DeFi, and that's pretty much what we are doing. Excited to be here again, and yeah, looking forward to the conversation.
Hey all, my name is Anand. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Bangalore. I've been in this space, like in the blockchain development trading infrastructure space since 2018. The very first year of 2018 actually, now that I recall. So before this, yeah, I definitely have had another startup that is started on autopilot. It's called Blockvision. So that was like a omni-chain SDK plus RPC provider. What I'm doing right now with Bangalore is essentially like a one-stop decentralized data layer for Web3 application needs. So essentially things like you'd like to build any sort of a tracker, dashboard, arbitrage bot, cross-protocol routing. So you essentially just come here, you give a very simple configuration, and then you just get started with data that is stored according to your needs, and that's also validated by a different engineer. So yeah, I'm quite fascinated by the stellar lineup over here, the people with their backgrounds across different verticals. So let's see where this discussion goes, and happy with you all.
Yeah, I was looking at So you came in 2018?
Yeah, the very
Onto 2017 space? Sorry, when did you guys?
2020, 2020, 3 years
Towards
back.
the end of 2019.
Okay, awesome, okay. Okay. Yeah, the same for me about 2019, 2020. Awesome. And one thing I forgot to do is introduce myself. My name's Liam. I'm head of marketing for DeFiChain Labs. But these guys are going to be much more on the expertise of the subject. So I guess let's start off then. So can you guys kind of, I'll just kind of throw it out and you guys can just, add your points wherever you feel like. But what is decentralized finance? Like, how do you describe it?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So, look, it's
the reason I said that, I'm sorry, because I'm more of like the engineering technical infrastructure side of things. Even though I know a little bit, maybe just
sure. I mean, people use DeFi, Web3 quite interchangeably, I would say, but just to begin from there, DeFi is actually one of the top use cases of what blockchains and Web3 has input. Other use cases being, let's say, around gaming, metaverse, NFTs, etc. Right? These are all, let's say, certain applications that the presence of blockchain has enabled us. Again, in simpler terms, blockchain, I mean, in very oversimplified terms, it would be public ledger, right? So now coming to DeFi as such, look, financial applications have been around for decades now, right? All the products that we use, like these days, what we call fintech products essentially. When you build some of these applications on top of blockchain, it essentially converts to DeFi, right? Which is decentralized finance. And essentially the core here is that there is not a centralized or a single party who's running the code, who's doing the computations, who's maintaining the data, who's maintaining permissions, right? For example, today, let's say PhonePe, for example, is a very popular app here, right? All of you must be using it. PhonePe, if they want, they can essentially block you from using it, right? And you need their permission to be able to use their app. It might not feel so, but end of the day, all your data, everything, your permissions are hosted in their databases. They can just choose to block you from using it. And that's, let's say, that tells you how centralized everything is, right? The permissions, the data, the compute, everything. When you just decentralize all of it, which is when you give this responsibility to a set of validators or a set of other people who are doing these computations or performing all these activities, it becomes decentralized finance, right? But as I said, finance is just one of the applications. You could have decentralized arts, decentralized gaming, everything. So yeah, I mean. Yes.
Also, if I may add, there's the smart contract bit of it, like if you're talking about trading work.
Just in case someone might not know what's a smart contract.
Yeah, smart contracts are what you essentially write your pieces, like applications are, right? So, like market making, it's like a big activity in any sort of a stock market, trading market. By market, I mean you must have heard of at least foreign exchange, right? That's a very commonly used example of a market, right? So at the moment, if you think of foreign exchange, whoever gets to supply the foreign exchange reserve from, let's say, USD to Australian dollar, right? So that itself is very limited, right? Who gets to participate in the markets, right? And then you get to go through a certain sort of a KYC requirement. You need to have connections to a broking house, and then only you can participate in such a market. But here what happens is once you have a smart contract based things, all you need is just like an identity on a blockchain, and you can start participating in this market. So you can do either the exchange trades itself, or you can be the liquidity supplier. So you can choose the role in which you can participate in it without having to go through like a government entity or something like that. So,
Yeah, nice. My next question was going to be around the benefits of DeFi. So you guys have already kind of given some nice little points and insights into that. Is there anything else, maybe from you guys here, or anything else you can think of that someone who might not be familiar with DeFi, the actual benefits on top of what you already talked about. So not being able to be blocked with the payment systems and being able to participate in the market. Is there anything like you can think of that would also be another benefit to someone else?
Yeah, I think now that we have these smart contracts established, and since DeFi is more, again, giving you decentralized power, you know you are owning these assets, but it's also decentralizing access. So you have these DeFi protocols, they're building on smart contracts, and now you just have like access to a lot of these products which you think you have access to. So let's say for an example, FD, you have access to FD. You're always like just curious about how these yields come, what is the percentage of fixed returns. But now with DeFi, you have all these applications that try to give you different types of yields. You have like these vaults that you can trade your money on. You can supply your assets. You can choose your assets. You can choose your risk exposure. You can be super flexible, and I think that's a very good benefit of DeFi. And like all these flexibility comes with like these teams building on top of it. And I'm very happy that it's one of the top use cases because again, it's decentralizing access to its core. Yeah.
Another thing to add is that they mentioned is blockchain is permissionless. For example, Uniswap is a very famous decentralized exchange on Ethereum and many chains. Tomorrow, if the team that built Uniswap stopped existing, Uniswap's actual code will still run. You can still use Uniswap, and so almost like will run forever until the blockchain keeps running. So with many advantages like this, like permissionless, censorship resistant, and like being able to read all the data without asking anyone.
Nice. Yeah, I like it.
I have a point to add here. If like any of you have been using DeFi or other dApps for a long time, you would notice that the type of innovative products that come in DeFi do not usually exist in usual world, right, or Web2. And that's only because, and as they mentioned, right, that it's permissionless. So it's not just permissionless for the users, it's also permissionless for the builders, right? They actually have the power to just come up with super creative stuff, which also, increases the risk for sure. You see a lot of these blow up because people are just degening their stuff here and there, right? But I think when make sure the right set of risk parameters, I think it enables a really good playground for people to do really creative financial applications. I'll just take a very small example. So in the usual Web2 world, have any of you ever bought a bond, a gold bond or whatever government bond, right? The moment you do that, the bond essentially guarantees you some yield or some interest on the capital, right? Now, what if somebody, a builder or a founder, came and said that, look, there are 100,000 people holding this government bond, which is definitely going to give them interest, but it still also has some value, right? If I have to give you a loan, I could accept that as a security because I know that the government is essentially going to pay you back for this bond that you hold. So if in the Web2 world somebody wanted to create an application where they wanted to use this bond that you hold as a collateral, they would have to go through this entire set of, go to SEBI, get some licenses, work with a lot of rail providers like DMAT or like Carvi and a bunch of other people. But here you literally have to just spin up a smart contract and anybody of these 100,000 people who hold a bond, they can just come and interact with that application and do their stuff, right? So it's also permissionless for the builder, and this particular nature enables a lot of creative innovations as well. So I think while of course it's permissionless, it enables access, it's transparent. I think innovation is something that it really unlocks, which excites me personally for sure. And yeah.
Money leverage, right? That's what they call it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's actually a good little segue into kind of the next question I wanted to tackle. So kind of like talk a bit about DeFi now, and you also touched on like traditional finance and how the two worlds kind of like separated. Andrew, you kind of picked up on it there, but what kind of issues with TradFi and traditional finance you kind of see the blockchain come in and really help it. So what, do you have like any examples or maybe any potential ideas around how issues in traditional finance can be tackled by
The
blockchain?
same thing, like if you have assets and stuff lying around, right? Someone gave the example of FD, right? FD is such a linear growth thing, and then once you have a FD or any other asset, whatever you put into a strategy, you don't get to use that position. Right? You do not get to use that position, and you cannot speculate on it, you cannot use that to trade activity. What is the point then? It is just frozen over there, and someone else is possibly earning way more than you want to do your assets. That is the definite biggest challenge, right? And the second part is that if I have fractional reserve banking, why, like that's accepted in traditional finance, right? If I can have that, why can I not have fractional trading on my assets, right? Why can I not supply my 5 lakhs in a saving deposit account into the foreign exchange reserve of USD to INR? Why can I not or not? Why do I have to go a regulator, right? So there are no answers to this when it comes to traditional finance, right? I'm not even a finance guy, but these are my everyday pain points, right? Someone takes up an EMI, right? And their percentage of the mortgage, they do not have a control on it. So that position is volatile, but the volatility of that position, they cannot use that to speculate or trade in any other platform, right? That's just, I don't know, I just think it's very, very unfair in terms of the end consumer.
Just to add like an example that I was thinking about. There's like, and again, nothing here is financial advice, just to put that in place.
Always gonna happen.
Yeah, there was like a recent event that happened. So everyone's sort of investing in mutual funds and everything, right? And it sort of made me think about it when you have like these funds invested in mutual funds, you're trusting these fund managers to essentially put your funds into these like newer spectrums or let's say risk with it, which is fine, you're taking the risk, but sometimes it's like there is like a lot of these mutual funds, they actually invested in an IPO which not a lot of people wanted, let's say I'm not naming any names, but there was an IPO that was a lot of mutual funds invested in that and a lot of people were unhappy, even when it was like a small part of their fund portfolio, but still like that shows you don't have the control sometimes. And when you go to like these DeFi applications, you have control to the teeniest bit. You have like, okay, I want to invest 0.00001 of this ERC20 asset that I have, and I want to invest it in this hedge or in this wallet or in this strategy. So like you're totally in control and you just don't get it. The composability again, as you said, it's not there.
But still in control.
It's also like a new thing that you can do in DeFi and especially in investing. I'll take a good example is a part of biology called longevity research, which is very underfunded. Longevity is how can you increase how long we live. And that's not very funded traditionally, especially if you know academia is very bureaucratic, you have to do things to get funding. When I started my journey in Web3, I came across this DAO called Beta DAO. You should all check it out, it's amazing. And what they basically did was they helped longevity research scientists to get funding much more easily. And whatever they create from that, whatever IP they get, they have some things called IP NFTs, which the DAO then holds and holds the actual IP of the research. So this is almost impossible to do traditionally, not very DeFi, but definitely comes under blockchain, and I find it really like one of the best cases.
Yeah, definitely. I can actually agree with that because a few years ago I went to Protocol Labs, who worked very closely with DeFi. So I got a nice little insight into like public good space within blockchain itself. So it's kind of called DeFi rather than.
Very eye-opening, like how just like changing the structures can enable to fund such good research.
Yeah, 100%, exactly. So.
And the reason they don't get funded is because the timeline of longevity research is very, very long compared to normal clinical trials. Like 5, 10 or more years to even get like some data or like the system even work. Great thing or an interesting thing about Beta DAO is it's now backed by Pfizer. There is a DAO, and so like you can see that more companies, more traditional companies supporting these platforms.
Nice. Yeah, that's kind of a good little segue there for the next bit. So like we have DeFi, we have TradFi. How do you guys kind of see like the relationship between those two as we kind of go into the future? You see it more of like a collaborative relationship, more of a conflicting relationship, or somewhere in between?
At this point in time, I think a lot of battle between traditional finance, DeFi, and like people are suing each other and like trying to tell that I'm the winner or I'm the future. I personally think that the future lies in collaboration. The good thing with traditional finance is the security, is the stability, a lot of governance, and it's very secure and people feel safe when investing in traditional finance or using it. The good thing about DeFi is that it's innovative and it helps you achieve many different use cases that I and others have mentioned. I definitely think the future is collaborative. If you see an example of Coinbase where they do follow all the regulations, and not only that, they lobby for the ecosystem, they talk to the government and help change the rules so that both can coexist at the same time and do good for the end user. That's the main goal.
Yeah, I think it also depends on the ecosystem, because I think Singapore, for example, they have a lot more flexible approach to this. They're currently essentially letting technologists also run this part of the thing. It's understood that okay, that's a high risk profile, and if your technology is well educated, you know what to do with it, and just follows the good regulations. I think it creates KYC and things like that. So yeah, collaboration is possible, definitely based on the ecosystem. And going ahead, obviously technologically advanced countries will be able to reap the benefits. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I think first of all, to begin with, the centralized and the traditional finance infrastructure that we have is really, really powerful. And it's not that all's bad. Right? Of course, being people who like us, being people who are building in DeFi or are building in this Web3 native space on Twitter or some other platform, public platforms, we tend to just demean the TradFi and the centralized infrastructure a lot for all the shortcomings they have. But it's unfair to acknowledge how powerful these systems really are, right? I mean, look at NASDAQ, for example, or even NSE, BSE are own homegrown exchanges that we have. I believe certain applications of blockchain in general, or what we have in DeFi, when you use them with the right centralized infrastructure, that really makes it super powerful, right? So think about, of course, transparency is one of the things we really talk about a lot, right? What if exchanges were really transparent? What if they told what is the balance of each of the participants? How are they doing order execution? Whether they are doing it in a fair manner or not? Transparency is, of course, a very well talked about stuff. But apart from that, think of other things like financial auditability, right? What if at any point in time you could log on to a platform and just see whether that particular platform is solvent or not? Do they have enough reserves as they owe? Are the balances safe or not, right? Which revolves around, let's say, proof of solvency, financial auditability. What if exchanges, if they had to use your balance, they would first need you to, let's say, sign the transaction, right? So when you use Uniswap or other dApps, you essentially sign the transactions using your wallet, right? What if that still needed to happen in a centralized manner without you realizing that you are actually authenticating transactions via wallet? So I think these cryptographic securities and financial auditability, as I mentioned, transparency, having public ledgers, custody again is a very important stuff, right? We see so many of hacks, not only in DeFi, but exchanges also get hacked a lot, right? That is because they are all operating on a single point of failure. What if there were multiple parties that were needed to process the computation or process the transactions every time somebody tries to withdraw large amounts? These are all the things that can actually be done fairly using the rates of DeFi, I mean blockchains in general, right? So I think definitely it has to be collaborative because you don't want to demolish a structure that is insanely powerful just because they have certain shortcomings and try to build it ground up on the other side, right? Because all said and done, while I am also somebody who is building a decentralized trading platform, I acknowledge it and I have no shame in acknowledging it that the experience of a trader who is trading on my platform is not as good as what they had on Binance or FTX for that matter. Right? Of course, it's a journey, we are getting there. But as a trader, I still believe they have better experience on centralized venues than decentralized venues. It's just that today you are catering to people who care about these things more than, let's say, the experience of trading. But I think, end of the day, I honestly don't think that Binance is going to be disrupted by a DEX. It's going to be disrupted by a centralized exchange only, which is built the right way with the right objective.
Just to add one more small thing here, I think with the issues again, I'm adding on to the point of collaborative nature of these companies and traditional finance. I think it's just hard to ignore the technology, and initially we've seen like a lot of banter from traditional finance as well. Just how these like decentralized finance applications of blockchain was maturing up, but now that it's matured up, we've seen like a lot of these like big giants try to experiment more. Visa was experimenting on Solana. JP Morgan is doing some stuff with their own blockchain. They're trying to tap into these chains. They were doing something with Avalanche or Nets. There's like a lot of these things these traditional finance companies have started doing, and I think it's just showing that yes, I think blockchain is now maturing. The tech is maturing. The theories that were put onto paper now have like sufficient proof of concept, and all these platforms want to try it out. And then once they try it out, again, it's a win-win for both, because for users, the real money for now, the real money is also the decentralized money, but now they are like very focused on fiat. And so now the rails has to be fiat to crypto, crypto to fiat. So there's always this point of contact, and for that it has to be collaborative. We can't be in this black box of I have crypto. What now? How do I go to fiat? Is it safe to go to fiat? We have to solve these to make sure the end result is the win. Yeah, that's my perspective.
Awesome. So that, we can talk about like the collaborative aspect between TradFi and DeFi. But one of the things that comes up a lot when it comes to TradFi is like regulation. I'm sure this is always a hot topic in Web3, right? So it's like, what would your guys' views be on regulation within what the blockchain Web3 crypto space? How could you foresee it working without like innovation, for example? Because to interact with TradFi and have collaboration, there's got to be some regulation, right? Or at least in my perspective, maybe you can tell me otherwise. But yeah, what would your view be on regulation on crypto Web3 blockchain?
Yeah, I think Anshu brought up this topic of auditability. Right? Actually, how Problem started was a hackathon project called Audit Protocol. So that would give like a very customized audit log of whatever the smart contract application was. So, for example, we used to track poly markets. So it would show that these are the people who basically vote on a prediction market saying that will Biden win, yes or no, and then you basically buy a yes share or buy a no share. And obviously you can imagine how the ratio dips on whichever side, you get a winning or you lose a certain trade out of it, right? But Polymarket had a centralized front end. So then you do not really know where is that data being shown, is it correct or not, and then is it up to date or not? Because you can imagine participating in a prediction market which is so volatile, you need the exact accurate data, right? So the auditability is something that is already built into Web3, right? So any resistance that comes to it from traditional circles is unfounded, because that auditability can be exactly customized to show you all the changes that have happened without any failure at all, right? So we already have that support built in, and whatever is required of a Web3 payment or a Web3 trading platform can be provided, right? It's built in, and it can be further verified by like what you were saying. Make validators run. What if there is a huge withdrawal of $5 million USDC happening over an exchange? go ahead, run it via a set of validators who sign off on it. Another further added layer of security, and you have each and every step recorded on the chain, right? So we do have that support built in along with your identity. Do your KYC, you can also sign it off, your transaction, and then you just provide it to your government account. So you have that position solved as well. So built from the ground up, Web3 is already like compliant. Right? It's up to people to actually start supporting it to have these use cases brought forward. That is where I see presently we are. It's that people are not willing to look at it. Lawmakers are not willing to look at it. There is essentially zero risk involved over here. Whatever data they want.
I mean, to be fair to those regulators and government, the image of Web3 has been tarnished a lot of times through the years. We saw FTX last year, and a lot of
Still centralized.
yeah, I mean, it's just has been tarnished over time, and the true advantages are not communicated properly. I think it's our job as companies, as people in this space to communicate this and go to regulators and explain them our point of view, explain them why this is better compared to what they are using or XYZ, and get this working. This is why I took the example of Coinbase earlier, where we are sitting in good meetings with the US Congress and making them understand what they're doing and why it's not something should be like regulated as hardly as like security. I think that's needed in our ecosystem, and we can't just run from the government or just do our own thing, YOLO, and finish our day.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, you brought up a subject that actually makes a nice extra segue for me for the next one. So you talked about security. You know, and like you said, reputations within Web3 have been pretty tarnished because of things like security and hacks and all that sort of thing. How do you kind of see how can Web3 platforms instill trust, especially for those who might be coming from traditional finance? Because obviously, you know, the banks, they're regulated by the government, they've got a lot of tradition and history, which generally people just generally tend to lean into anyway. So how from a Web3 perspective can we instill that same trust in those people coming over to the TradFi?
I think a huge plus here from TradFi is people sleep really well putting their money in FTs in these banks, which is with recent hacks and a lot of smart contract risk that have been up, because obviously the technology is really is maturing and it's taking time. Everyone has to learn what are the drawbacks of these smart contract risk and everything. So I think what Web3 would need at some point is something like, you know, where US FDIC ensures like 100K deposit, or that, oh, you will be returned if the bank lasts, or if like it goes bankrupt. So like things like that, I think they've been building up. Like there are insurance protocols, there are user focused safety protocols. One of the things I also built during a hackathon some time back is just, you know, you as a user have like some assets lying around, like different things, because if you are a crypto native, you just want to try out yield everywhere. And so when one of the protocols, let's say, is under a hack, then you have to have like a way to be as fast as possible, withdraw all the money, all the assets. And so you have to be at the safety of that. So we either need products like that, or we either need the auditing firms to mature more, which is again very tough considering the engineering masterminds you need in auditing. Like recently there was a hack like 2 days back. The hack was, the reason of the hack was the computation or the number of deposit tokens was, you know, off by 0.00001%. And so the hacker actually just spent so much time and, you know, articulated that. So there's just too many points that, you know, one had to consider while in these smart contract risks. I think the best way to put it is when it's good enough, the security should be good enough that the user sleeps with their money in these protocols, which I do not right now. I have a lot of region pools I am in, and I can't sleep really well. So yeah, I mean, we need more security protocols, user focused, and a lot of those things.
I mean, security is definitely hard in DeFi. I mean, number one, it's open source, anyone can see your code. You can argue about the pros and cons of that, but at the end you have people who have infinite time, as you mentioned from the hack last week, where they can spend all their time in this one protocol which has been there for years and find a vulnerability and hack like 46 million out of it. So secure is something that we definitely have to work towards, and I think as the ecosystem matures, we will see lesser of these hacks, but as we mentioned, it's hard to sleep at night if you have a lot of crypto because of volatility and security.
Yeah, I think there's also a lot of education on the user front, right? Because I'm not sure if you guys saw this a few weeks back. This guy Mark Cuban, pretty famous guy, one of the sharks of the Shark Tank in the US. His wallet got drained for almost 800K or so, almost $1 million or so, right? And he's not somebody who's a noob in terms of using Web3 products, right? So actually, what I'm getting to is the process of using these applications is so raw and naive right now that even the educated ones end up losing their capital. So what do you really expect from people who are just coming in, right? So I think while of course it is a lot on the builders to build products with better UX and safety baked into the workflow, I think it also requires a lot of education and maybe probably there's no one better than the government to educate masses, right? Which again goes back to the point of the government first acknowledging that look, this is something that should be there and then regulating it in a way that even the builders don't go and innovate any random stuff. They also have to follow certain protocols, ensure that the products are built safely, right? There are safe loops and of course as Zeel mentioned around security, every dApp is properly audited, for example. The government should approve it that look, this now looks like good to go and then give it to the hands of the people with proper guidelines and all. And they did it with UPI and other common fintech innovations that you see around, right? So I think somebody as powerful as government that has so much influence over the masses, when they really come in and step into saying that look, there is a certain way of using XYZ product, I think that's where the security elevates multi-code.
And it's also like the way we are using these tools to, for example, sign a transaction. It's something that we use called MetaMask. It's essentially a bridge trying to fit into a Web2 experience. You should ideally have the freedom to choose from, let's say, like a community-driven bridge, which has an extra workflow of going via a community-voted strength of whether this protocol is trustworthy or not. But I have lost money drained out of signing on a transaction on something that looked like a Lens protocol site. And I had no clue, I was just signing a transaction. And it had this workflow that put together a whole permission that goes and brings out all my supply. And it did not look at all suspicious to me because it was just another normal transaction being signed. But if I used a community supplied bridge, or for example, even like the Zeel supported something or Akshu supported something, I know them as them being founders and they're running a collective, a DAO, who has created a bridge, and I installed that. And now it has an extra workflow saying that hey, this one's confidence score is like just 3%, right? I cannot possibly be using it. Here are the user reports. You cannot do that now because MetaMask is a what's that consensus, right? Into the consensus supported plugin, which uses their own RPC. Right? So you have no way of knowing if the RPC DNS gets hashed. It routes the request somewhere else. That is essentially the problem even with password management. You're using password managers where Google is showing you that it's supporting it in Chrome, but it's sending it to their websites, and you have become so used to that flow, you tend to implicitly trust such workflows. Right? So we have to break down those things by bringing actual like protocols. That term is becoming more and more important because some things that we have taken for granted, they were never based in proper permission, authorized ways of doing things. People flew to the sun between 2010 to 2015. They just flew to the sun and just did whatever they could to adopt as many users as they could without actually looking at these intermediate steps of security and trustworthiness. Right? So it's not entirely Web3's fault that it has come to this, because people never articulated these intermediate steps of confidence, of trustworthiness, of whether this thing is secure or not. Right? HTTPS is secure, but I do not know what am I interacting with actually. Is that actually a correct thing to be interacting with or not? That's why I think it has to be broken down. The user experience has to be broken down and brought into specific protocols.
That's exactly what I was going to ask next. Is like, you know, just even looking at like, if you're coming from TradFi, DeFi, someone might just look at a wallet address and panic. Like, it's just a bunch of random random bits of numbers and letters, right? So imagine you're sending your first transaction, everyone knows how that feels, the anxiety, the nervousness of waiting for that transaction to come through. So like in the DeFi space, or just Web3 in general, how can we kind of build it in a way that is better for the user experience, make it, you know, less scary, less complex as well, like you're talking about the different steps you have to go through.
Abstractions. There are many things that are coming up, account abstractions.
Can you break that down, like what that means?
Yeah, like account abstractions is a huge area of research and development right now. Already there are working products on it. And even on a simple basis, you have something like ENS, a payment service, where against your wallet, you have something of that name that you can make sense out of, right? And then there comes the part of the trustworthiness, right? So at the very least, any extension at the moment can quickly pull a list of transactions and have even a flag report from somewhere like etherscan.io or many user-driven collectors. So these are 2-3 data points that they can quickly indicate. Like I do have the open source code of MetaMask, and if I launch it, the problem is you use a Chrome web store and it has to list it. Right? It should not be like that, right? So that is where the technologies exist, the standards exist. It is just that we're trying to retrospectively fit it into web code. I never like tired of saying it. So we're trying to retrospectively fit it into web code. So sooner we get out of it and understand that our account abstractions, our identity abstractions are way better compared to what so much of web code experience has been. We can truly showcase the security and the confidence that we can make. Transactions will go through. Transactions will go through and you're sending it to the right person with a certain confidence group that already the community has flagged. There is so much community data that is presently all just behind web 2 wall. If you the bigger of it. This is not the case in our space, not at all. We have enough.
Just on the point of account abstraction, also want to shout out like the Indian team building like for a few years. Bikeconomy has been doing like very good work in terms of that. And I think I agree to the point of abstractions. It's like we have so much tech, so much data, everything, and we have like ways to tap into like certain flows where you can act as a paymaster, you can sponsor gas for like these new people who can come into the ecosystem. There are ways, these interoperability protocols, these bridges have been trying to aggregate liquidity into one place so that someone comes from just doesn't know that there is this chain that exists, they come with an on-ramp which is trusted, they put their money, they are into these ecosystems, directly gives a way to tap into those ecosystems. I think we have all the fragmented blocks ready. It's just a matter of time, it's just a matter of maturity, it's just a matter of these social applications that are built and then give way to these like retail users to tap into these like awesome, very innovative protocols that are there. So I think that's the zoomed out view I have in terms of UX that needs to be built out. But I think we have everything ready, everything's maturing up, and yeah, it's pretty near, to be honest. Just an app which is going to disrupt. And I don't like to use the word disrupt, but it would sort of come and this retail would be taken away. So, yeah.
Where Web3 is from.
Every sentence.
Sorry?
Every sentence.
Yeah.
You can raise some money, VC money out of this stuff.
There's always something to disrupt. Okay, I want to change gears a little bit and ask you guys like a couple of individual questions, and then maybe we can take it to the audience. Maybe they might have some questions too. So Mahir, I'll start with you. So with Coinbase, does Coinbase have like any kind of plans to integrate any traditional finance into its reward platform, especially with the needs of the new age creators and community? And if so, how would that kind of look?
Definitely. I mean, Coinbase, we every day think how we can improve the users. The most common action that users do on Coinbase is claim an NFT or a token. And for that, the friction at this point is incredibly high. Like if I had to ask my parents to do it, it would be, I wouldn't expect them to be able to use Coinbase at this moment. You have to get a wallet, you have to store the secret phrase, you have to do X, Y, Z, get money, and pay gas. It's a lot of steps. I feel, firstly, what we've thought of is a lot of users tend to use a single chain. For example, someone uses Polygon a lot, someone may use Optimism or Arbitrum primarily, and then if the camping is on a different chain, they have to first bridge their money to another chain and then go ahead and claim it. So the first feature we have planned in the next 2 weeks is that you can pay using any token from any chain and claim on the actual source chain. That's number one. Secondly, we're looking at it. Obviously, it has its own regulatory problems, but paying directly via credit card or fiat is the end goal, where if you did some on-chain task or off-chain task, for example, following on Twitter or submitting an email, how do you get your NFT then? You can just use your credit card. That's our sort of like half a year goal, but let's see how the regulations plan out on that.
Nice, yeah, I can imagine that's going to be a little bit tricky with the regulations, but I like that simplicity of being able to pay fiat or something.
Yeah, and even the login, you need a wallet, which has been bugging me for quite some time. I mean, we have these web2native Google laws or Facebook laws or email laws. I think for most users, this would be the most convenient way of not getting a wallet, but it's again pros and cons. We'll be exploring that and seeing how it pans out and what we end up doing.
Nice, nice. Zia, I'll move on to you next, if that's okay. So in what ways can Layer 3's approach to user engagement and interactive experiences be leveraged to bridge the gap between DeFi and TradFi, especially in terms of user acquisition and retention?
Yeah, so that's yeah. I mean, so Layer 3 for the longest time has been one of the top tier platforms in terms of user experiences, and that's what we pride a lot. And initially when we started out, our main motive was, for these people from retail to have, earn tokens in crypto, which was initially what idea was, but then we pivoted into something else. But initially what we started as something where, someone can do like an IRL action, there was like an insane, so this is like a very crypto thing, it's like a bull run thing. So when it initially started, there was like a bounty on Layer 3, which was, just skydive from a plane and have like an index co-op, which was the company sponsoring this thing. Index co-op logo on the parachute and just record it, and then we'll give you like $2,000 or $3,000. And that happened. A guy literally just skydived, and there were like few outrageous things like, have a tattoo of this fund on your hand and you can get like $2,000. But that's how we started. We were seeing the crypto ethos. There were like some things happening there. But then we pivoted into like this really, really interactive experience for users to come understand these DeFi protocols, DeFi apps. They come here. We sort of like to tell a story where we are saying, okay, we are sort of a Duolingo for Web3 because you have all these languages you learn in DeFi and in Web3. In DeFi, NFTs, there's DAOs, there's everything, these different genres. So you need to learn everything about them. You need to understand, okay, so these many protocols, there is this perpetual trading protocol, there is this DEX, there is this type of, let's say, aggregator. You need to know how to use this. You need to know what's the value prop. You can go ahead and use it and attribute, and you can build an on-chain credential while using it. So that's what we're focused on right now. And one thing that Mir also mentioned that they were looking into these like Web2 authentication systems. That's also something we are looking into. There are like interesting teams that are building these systems where your email gets you enter your email and then that's used as to create like a recovery phrase, your private key, and then you have this. Yeah, exactly. And then there are like teams like 3D. There is interesting team that's building that solution. So we've been thinking about it, and just that gives us. So we have already superior UX, and now with things like that, we can basically tap into like retail and then sort of just tell them, hey, this is we are going to do account abstraction. We are going to fund your gas. Come to this chain. This is the on ramp that we have. Use this. Now you have these many wallet options. Choose one of them. Install it. Go to these categories of DAOs and dApps and NFTs and whatnot, learn about them, build your on-chain credential, and just keep exploring. So that's kind of our end goal with DFP, and this is how we sort of quote it. This is like we would be the compass to your destination, and that's like this we have been building on, and I think we are very excited to see where this goes. Yeah, that's enough shit.
So good man, that sounds pretty interesting, pretty cool. I like that tagline of being a compass. This is cool. Okay, on to you, mate. So LogX focuses on aggregating liquidity for decentralized perpetual trading. Thank God I got that right. How do you kind of envision your platform complementing or potentially competing against traditional finance platforms?
Sure, that's a good question. I'll actually take a step back and talk about why we started LogX, right? What was our thought process when we started this? So, my personal belief is that from traditional finance, any form of value, every form of value in fact, will have some tokenized version on chain, right? So, by tokenized version, what I essentially mean is having some token in the form of crypto, as we call it, right? And crypto is just a representation of an asset representation for the text, right? So all this Ethereum, Bitcoin, whatever, these are all tokens, right, that we trade. So my personal belief is that whatever we do in traditional finance, all of them will have some tokenized version on chain. Let's say your mutual fund, your FDs, there will be a day where you will be able to purchase and hold a lot of these assets on chain itself, and you won't have to, let's say, interact with Grow or Zerodha, for example, right? You'll probably be able to do it on CoinDCX. For plain simple example. And when that happens, when let's say every form of value is on chain, you will need a very high performant exchange to be able to exchange those values. Right? So even today people trade, right? What they're essentially doing is that they're exchanging value between themselves. Which means that when a lot of these forms of values are on chain, you will need a venue or an exchange where you can, or a very highly performant exchange where you can trade a lot of these values in a very, let's say, cost efficient manner with deep liquidity in a way that is fair to you, the user, right? So that is what we believe in, and when we started August, we said, look, let's start with a particular form of value, which is, let's say, perpetual, or futures, for example. I mean, a lot of TradFi people here would have heard of futures. You would have heard it in pair as futures and options, but these are essentially derivatives of shares, right? As we call it in Web2. So we started with enabling trades for futures in a way that you get the best execution of your future trades at LogX or across the world, right? So when we started, we said, look, whatever we test, we have to give the best execution for that particular trading that we are enabling. And we see it evolving in a way that there will be a day where all forms of values will be traded on LogX with very high performance engines sitting at the bottom, right? So I think, Liam, to answer the question, I think this is how we envision LogX evolving and eventually interacting with traditional finance. I mean, all of TradFi is actually going to get traded on LogX or something.
Interesting. That sounds exciting, man. I like it. Nice. Okay. So then on to Amit. your turn, mate. So, Paolo plays a critical role in transforming data accessibility and actually a smart contract-based application, right? Something that I can tell you're very clearly passionate about, which is awesome. Could you kind of share your vision on how this technology will bridge the gap between complex chain technology and user-friendly applications in DeFi and beyond? What kind of impacts do you foresee on both the blockchain ecosystem and traditional data analytics platform? Long question.
Yeah, it's like a mouthful, but I'll put it in short. Like my target people would be my friends sitting over here, right? Because if you understood like they are very complex use cases and their data demands are like huge. If he wants to create across multiple protocols, multiple chains with tokenized versions of real-world assets, right? Where does he get that data from? Right? Where does he get that data even more reliably from? I don't know if you have noticed that you don't have a server to query when it comes to blockchain data. You either use a free subscription plan from someone like Infura or QuickNode or Alchemy, I'm not sure whichever you use, or God forbid if you have 300k credits to run your own node on which you can run your RPCs, right? So that is one way to do it. Or the other way to do it is, what we do is make the decentralized data read already like pre-computed and pre-analyzed for you. You essentially just have to supply that here is the schema of the data that you need, and this is the kind of computation or analytics that I need, which will be taken care of by the peers that participate in Powerloop network. Right? So we have different categories of peers that support the Powerloop network. Some people who take care of the very raw, low-level data, and then there are people who take care of the higher order aggregate data or compose data, whichever a client might need. Right? So it's purely demand-driven, and it's built from the ground up of what a blockchain technology itself is supposed to be. So we essentially use the decentralization aspect to give you a guaranteed read of any sort of data. It can be finance, it can be for your gaming, it can be for your NFT dashboard, quest tracking like your Zeal is working on. All of these examples, they all become sort of the people who can use our network to get data guaranteed and also at a very cheap cost, because you utilize these decentralized storage providers for data sets which are constantly queried, like a dashboard. You don't change it that often. Once it is rendered, it's rendered. So yeah, that's like the vision behind what we are building. That we will be able to offer you data, whether you're a developer or a large institutional consumer, based on your demand, be computed, flexible enough that it suits you.
You did the keyword cheap there as well, right?
Yeah. Cheap, like data has to be cheap.
Yeah.
What's the point of decentralization of the value if it's costly?
True, I agree. Awesome. We have a couple of minutes. I just want to turn to the audience, see if you guys have any questions for anyone here. So feel free. I don't know if we've got any microphone. No? I guess I can run mine now. So if anyone has a question, one of us?
No, I didn't give them mic. I didn't give them ask the microphone.
Okay. Any questions, anyone?
Thanks for the amazing insights. So one thing before my specific question, perhaps I can get Zeal to sleep a little bit better at night, is DeFiChain pools are completely non-Turing complete. So, you might want to consider using them. But in any case, that aside, I think one of the questions is, this is also, I would love to get anybody's view on it. However, Anshu also specifically focused on real-world assets. So when it comes to real-world assets, how has your journey been when it comes to dealing with the government regulations? Are there any particular experiences that you could share on getting in that part of the journey? And as all of you have deep foot in the Indian Web3 ecosystem, if anybody else has any experience to share on this, I would love to hear this.
To be very honest, I do not have any experience in dealing with movement of real world assets on chain. Right? What we are really focused on is whenever that happens, whosoever brings those assets on chain, they should be traded on logins, is what we care about. Right? So all my waking and sleeping hours go into building a really good trading platform. I just want to ensure that whatever is tradable should be tradable with best efficiency at logins. Right? So to be very honest, I'm probably not the right person to comment on what the regulatory hurdles in the process of movement of real world assets to on-chain. Of course, I do have certain friends who are building in the RWA space. But yeah, I think it would be unfair for me to just give you an answer without having to grasp for the day of the land.
Thanks.
Maybe
Sure. You pretty much sidestepped the problem. So.
The hurdles, if government can, for example, put the land records, like my home state of West Bengal started putting on land records on blockchain, right? I'm pretty sure the legalities around it have been solved, and I do know a couple of friends who are doing work on commodities exchange, right, in a market, real world asset based tokenization, right? So there is definitely some sort of legal framework that's happening when they are supported, right? So the regulatory hurdle actually does not seem like a problem. It's just that maybe we are not educated well about it. Otherwise, these use cases wouldn't be existing, right? The government wouldn't be putting on land records on blockchain. Even Telangana did it, I think, recently, where they put the land records on blockchain. So they are essentially representing a real world asset on chain with a token based position, right? So the legality seems to have been solved.
Yeah, just to, and I also don't have like direct experience, but I have like a few friends, people in the space building on top. So there is also an interesting project right out of India, if I'm not wrong, is they are like sort of trying to tokenize solar energy. I think it's been done. So they were initially a traditional Web2 company and then pivoted to a Web3 company, and then right now they are doing it decentralizing the solar computer. So I mean, I think it's figured out. It's just that probably needs more time from regulators, or let's say us to educate ourselves.
Fortunately or unfortunately, even I don't have a lot of like direct contact or experience with the regulators, but I've worked closely with this platform called Token Protocol. You should all read about it, and I think it's one of the, along with BetaDAO, one of the very good examples of how you get real world assets on chain. So just to give you a 1-minute summary, Token Protocol basically brings carbon credits, which are like a huge, like a centralized, there are 2 to 3 centralized agencies with traffic for you, and bring it on chain where you can create it and finally like buy credits so that you can offset your carbon footprint. For example, if I emitted like 1 ton of carbon, I can buy like that much worth of that sort of carbon credits and technically offset my carbon emissions. And I think they're doing it pretty well. They are working very closely with the actual centralized agencies. I think Goldstein is one of them. They have, I worked with the team last year like, for some time, and an incredible team. I would love to check it out. Yeah, I think it's a very good example of how you can bring real world assets on chain.
I can also think of another blockchain that does real world assets that might be having a hackathon too. Okay. Any more questions? Ronald?
So I wanted to ask like quite a generic question. So like Web3, there is another big thing going and coming up is like AI and ML. So is any one of you seeing to integrate in any way possible any use case of AI or ML, or how do you think you can integrate in future? Like any one of you in your project, or do you think any other project can have a good use case of AI and ML in project so that it leverage the project overall?
Yeah, for sure. One of the things that, for example, we are supporting is, let's say a popular wallet that is doing like crazy amounts of trade on a swapping exchange platform, right? So there is a definite need for a machine learning model that kind of determines what determines its popularity. Is it being a big whale, like the whale, like is it doing huge trades about a million or so, yeah, then definitely there is something that we are building at the moment. And there is a direct application, and like I said, whoever consumes us has other specific needs or the kind of information they require. So ML is a huge integration when it comes to blockchain, and not to mention the part where you can distribute workloads across so many peers and have them even incentivized for the computation they will do on it. There is that bit of ML that is not common. There is one part where you can use ML predictions to help your consumers, but then there is also another part of actually training the model. The training the model, you have a direct use case built right into the way blockchains are designed, right? You can distribute workloads across peers. They can prove the work that they have done, and then they can get incentivized for it, right? It's like a direct use case, and I think there were a few networks that were supporting something like that. Going way back 2019 or so, I remember Poland network, which is this one network where people would run their machine learning models, and also you can prove the biasness or lack of biasness in your networks when it comes to such models, right? So yeah, there is definitely integration of ML. I can't speak about AI though, that's not my field. ML I can tell you about, I have dabbled in it, we're using it. So yeah, ML definitely integrates well the way blockchain and Web3.
I think I also have an answer to this, but that's like the disclaimer is that it is very trading specific, right? I honestly do not have much knowledge about use cases of AI beyond what we do, but specific to what we do, there are few things. So there is something called toxic order flow in exchanges, right? What it does is, in very simple terms, there are certain large capital holders that are just trying to manipulate the prices of assets on an exchange, right? This is something that you can very well detect, which is essentially more around fraud detection, I would say, detection of toxic order flows. You can detect these things much better using applications of AI. That's one of the things. Second is, again, exchanges. One of the, it's more relevant to centralized exchanges, where these exchanges are bound to build a team of 100, 200, 300 people just to ensure that all the transactions going through are compliant, right? Or they do not break the money laundering laws. Essentially, I'm not sure again, some of you would have known that CZ, who was the CEO of Binance, recently stepped down, right? Because there were allegations on Binance that they could not prevent money laundering via their platform. Those things happen because there could be, let's say, some terrorist groups sitting out of whatever, wherever, right? Better not to take names, but sitting out of wherever might be using some of these exchanges to launder money from one part of the world to another in the form of Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever, right? They deposit from one country, they withdraw in another. So that is a way to just launder money from country A to country B. And to prevent some of these things, currently exchanges are forced to set a very large team to just check all of these transactions manually, right? Again, this is something that can completely be automated and sped up as well using AI. So I think around risk management specifically, there are a lot of things that as an exchange, logins or anybody who's running an exchange can actually do by using AI. Beyond that, honestly, I do not have, I haven't put in much thought on how AI can actually probably bring in much more efficiency in terms of cost or time to whatever applications we are working on.
To add to that, I think because both blockchain and machine learning both live and breathe data, I think they work pretty well. I can give a very good example of what we can do, like taking a volatile risk, like whatever things they do on chain is all public available. We can train data on that, understand their behavior, understand what they would like, and build out a recommendation engine, at least for our platform, where they could recommend, okay, based on your activity on chain, on this chain, we recommend you complete this campaign. We know that you will like this campaign more than the other. So when compared to Web2, like for example, Twitter data, we saw how easily they took out the API and know what can access the API now. So you can't really train data But with Web3, everything is on-chain, everything is available publicly, and you can train data for machine learning and many more use cases. Yeah, that's the big advantage I think that we bring from the table.
Yeah, just a small thing, because I was around security actually, and to my point where I was talking about just the UX has to be right in a way that you can sleep and be secure. I think so. So with that problem, I had to like build like a small hackathon project that I did. So it initially it tries to sort of see like, so you have like 5 protocols you have money into, right? So there are like could be certain indicators of a hack before it executes. You have it there, and so I think AI in a way or two you can sort of use it to sort of predict, and then you can just go ahead and that the product that I built basically will withdraw your assets, pool tokens from that, predicting that there might be a hack happening, and so things like that should be a very interesting use case, to be honest. Yeah, because you can see like transactions pending in the meme pools, and then you have like things like that where you have a lot of data. You can have the private nodes. You can there are a lot of things you can sort of compose AI with, and then just use that for security and sleep good at night.
Yeah, awesome. So I just want to kind of wrap things up a little bit, because we're a little bit over anyway. But it's been great, like hearing your thoughts on everything. It's super interesting. So most of you guys here for a hackathon, one thing I want to kind of finish on is what kind of advice or maybe potential ideas would you have for someone in the hackathon, and then also if you can kind of tell people where to follow you, and at the same time, maybe we go from left to right, maybe just a quick one.
Definitely. You asked like what I can build or what you would like me to do?
Yeah, ideas or just like general advice.
I think it's a lot of hackathon projects these days. They do focus a lot on the UX. I think even the last year there was a Banana wallet that did very well. I think at least as per what we would need at Coinwise is how we can improve the UX of users and what's the best way to onboard that to people that's something they would be interested in. That's what I would have right now, and you can follow me on Twitter at 0900
Nice.
Yeah, advice from me would be to build on the security and infrastructure track and just a bit inclined with that. And I'm sure, and I know that you have a security track in the hackathon, so feel free to again ping me on Twitter, bug me. I've like built a few things around security, and I'm very, very excited to hear ideas around that. So yeah, and you can follow me and ping me on Twitter at Patel068. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, look, I can't tell you what to build. Just pursue whatever problem statement you find exciting. I think that's been one of our learnings as well, that if you end up pursuing something that you're not excited about, you're anyway not going to make it. So just better to find a problem that you're really passionate about, or the thing should be solved, go ahead and solve it. Pull up whatever resources we can, beg, borrow, steal, just make it happen. You can follow logx on Twitter at logx_trade. If you search logx, it should very well be there, and you can potentially find me as well if you end up following logx. And one shameless plug, we are actually hiring for tech and business development roles. So if any of you are interested to probably apply, feel free to DM me on Telegram. I'll actually give my Telegram. It's Anshu_Agrawal, ANSHU_AGRAWL. It's AGRA, not AGAR. That's Agarwal, whatever spelling. Plaguing the world for a long time now, but and more than happy to help in whatever way I can, in whatever you are building or you are pursuing. So yeah, all the best. Have a great time hacking here on. Happy hacking.
Alright, yeah, like what you mentioned, definitely follow whatever things you're passionate about, but let's say you don't have a starting point. Essentially, I would ask you to reverse engineer, like especially if this is your first or second hackathon and you're not sure what to build. Please go through the hackathons that have happened earlier, like especially the popular ones, like organized by different collectives like local and such things. You will find really good examples of whether you want to go something more on the financial side, where you want to build something that trades across protocols or across chains, or let's say you want to build like a file explorer based on that's just based on decentralized storage, and you could fetch files by paying with a token. Have you thought of that? Like that's like a great idea to implement, right? So this is purely about how you can first actually think across these different stacks that are available to you, and then you can start looking into your own price if you actually want to win. Then it's not bad to see things that are popular and things that are very pricey. Move ahead with it. You will learn something while you are at it, right? If you want to basically hack on DeFi specific data, I can help you with it, with also like the problem specific data sets that we have. Maybe the time is less as of now, but there are so many hackathons that are coming up. Follow is also organizing a developer workshop. So follow us on Follow HQ on Twitter, right? So Follow HQ, WER, LOOM HQ. So over there you'll start seeing many more resources come up on Twitter. We have this developer workshop. Like before that, I would be happy to help you with data sets and APIs that you might need to build on the DeFi specific use case, right? So just bring us over there. I will try my best to help you as much as possible.
Actually, I just noticed, correct. So if you're actually texting me on Telegram, it's Anshu_AGRA. You'll probably find the profile picture with the penguin on it. So.
Great. All right. Well, anyway, thank you so much, guys. It's been awesome engaging with you guys. Listen to all the wisdom you guys have given out today. Thank you so much for coming also. And yeah, guys, if you don't mind, just giving them a nice round of applause. There you go. Awesome. Yeah, that's everything.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you.
No, that's fair. Pleasure's all ours.
Sweet. Looks like we're about at the end of our kickoff for DevHack 2023. As we move out, we have some snacks prepared for you all. We have a good open toast with mushrooms, cheese and marinara, and some shrub soda on tap. So yeah, feel free, help yourself to the pantry area and have some good conversations, meet our judges, meet our speakers, and get to know Anshu is hiring, speak to him, and yeah, just network around. We'll catch you soon, probably at the final demo day mixer. I will also have the QR code for that up here, so you all can just register for that as well. That's on the 5th of December, and yeah.